What's good, everybody, and welcome to an episode of the Yamatileka TIS podcast with your host, yours truly. He is I, and I am him. Jai Shields here on this Monday, June the 10th, the year 2025. Yes, hope you guys had a nice, safe, memorable, and wonderful Father's Day and Father's Day weekend. We got a jam-packed show here for you today. Obviously, Game 5 of the NBA Finals is tonight. We'll preview that. I got plenty to say about a disgusting, borderline unwatchable Game 4 that was on Friday night, and Scott Farson got plenty of thoughts to say about that. And the NBA's just painfully egregious scheduling in terms of when they play these championship games. It drives me up the damn wall, and I've had enough. So I got to sound off about that as well as the show will continue, obviously, later on. NFL, the only thing I'm going to touch with that, and it's not going to be about Dak Prescott's legacy. It's going to be more so about my Cincinnati Bengals and their two contract standoffs they have with their respective defensive talent as they close the doors on mini camps and OTAs. And the next time we'll see these guys in the 5-1-3 on the practice fields will be in about a little more than a month and a half's time for training camp to begin the 2025 NFL season. And they're embark on hopefully crowning themselves Super Bowl champions for the 2025 NFL season. And how can I forget Major League Baseball had a huge weekend. Giants took lost a series to the Dodgers. And then in turn traded for Rafael Devers earlier before their game against the Dodgers last night. They trade for Rafael Devers after the Red Sox on their side of things cross country sweep the New York Yankees and take essentially 5 of 6 from them in the last 2 weekends. The Yankees we thought were going to be home free for the East. Now maybe with Rafi Devers less Red Sox team, they may not be in the mix, even though they're only about 6.5 to 5 games out of first place. So they may be left for dead for one of the division, but the other teams, and especially the red hot Rays that swept the Mets over the weekend, they are just humming right along, and they're on the Yankees tail, who recently have, since the Dodgers series, really have kind of gone on a little bit of a tailspin outside of the feeble American League Central competition they've played recently. They returned home. They got the Angels this week during the bulk of the work week, and then this weekend they welcome the Orioles for the first time there in 2025 at the Boogie Down. We'll get into all the baseball, especially the Devers trade, and that is where we will begin right here. I mean, how could you not? It's the story of the weekend. I did not watch a single stroke tee shot of the U.S. Open over the weekend. The rain was a major problem. The course being too hard. You look at the leaderboard, and I, who's a very casual golf fan, if you don't have the top names, the DeChambeaus, who missed the cut, didn't even make it into the weekend. But if you don't have DeChambeau, somebody I like to root against, Rory, it's hard for me to get into, and it's hard for me to get into golf enough as it is, especially no Tiger. But when the household names that I recognize are nowhere near in the line of contention to win the whole thing, and it's on a holiday weekend such as Father's Day, I'm out. I'm sorry, I gotta cut beat. So I would have liked to had a compelling finish, but the whole tournament itself was left a lot to be desired from what I've read and what I heard from a lot of golf aficionados and golf fans alike. But let us begin with the Rafael Devers trade from Sunday evening. I'll get to the Yankees and the Red Sox series in specifics, but I want to get to the trade first because we talked about this back in May when it was a thing, going back to, and we even talked about it in March originally before the season started 3 months ago, when they signed Bregman as a late free agency signing, and Devers made it known that he did not want to give up third base. And then we addressed it again when Tristan Casas broke his leg in May, about early mid-May, broke his leg, and he didn't want to go to first base, and we discussed it then, so we might as well go out of our way to discuss, obviously, the trade that was a byproduct of those two clubhouse riffraffs, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word. Both sides, if you look at this objectively and you kind of look at this straight down the middle, And this is coming from somebody that obviously is not a Red Sox fan. I don't hate the Red Sox. You like to beat them. You don't like losing to them because they're, your division rival. But outside of the fact they're in the same division as the Orioles, I don't hold any malice or ill will towards the Boston Red Sox. I don't hate them like I hate the Yankees. I don't root for them to fail like I do the Yankees, which is the number one team in baseball. I can't stand the most, as you guys well know. But I do not hate the Red Sox. I respect the fact that it was a franchise that went a long time without 86 years without winning a World Series championship. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. And then the 3-0 comeback against the Yankees in the 04 ALCS happened, and they've been a completely different franchise compared to other American League teams, the Yankees especially being one of them, ever since. Now, the qualm that you have is that the Yankees are always, in the regular season, consistently good for the most part, and the Boston Red Sox, they're too much. They're one or two extremes. They either the big bad juggernaut that nobody wants to play, and they'll eventually win a World Series championship, like we saw, not 04 and 07, because those teams that year were that good, but I'm talking about the ones in 2013 and in 2018, even to a lesser extent the 2021 team that came out of nowhere, got a wild card spot, beat the Yankees in the wild card game, and advanced all the way to the ALCS. But then if they're not in that conversation, if you check your calendar and the year is 2012 or the year is 2020 or 2019 is a defending, it's like they're like either a mediocre baseball team or worse. So they're a very up and down roller coaster type team since in my lifetime. But damn it, what do they got? 4 World Series championships in the last 20, 21 years. I mean, what baseball fan, even the New York Yankees and the Yankee fan that cannot stand the Red Sox, has to acknowledge that in the last 20 years, the Red Sox have not just lapped. I mean, when you talk about championships, they've done laps around the teams in their division, among other teams across the American League. But I say all that to get to the Devers trade. Like I said, both sides are at fault for this because, and we talked about it at the time, and I said it on I said this when I posted the trade post on the MLB page on my Instagram story, and I tweeted it last night. The original seed of Rafael Devers possibly being moved would have not have been created, let alone planted into the minds of the Red Sox front office had he handled himself like a professional adult the moment Alex Bregman arrived at Fort Myers, Florida in early March of spring training. If he handles himself like a complete pro, takes it on the chin, keeps whatever bugaboos, disagreements, whatever the case might be, to himself, and he goes about it with class, quietly, and doesn't essentially create a huge midseason firestorm less than a month in the camp that Alex Cora would have, obviously had to clean up. If that does not happen 3 months ago in spring training, I'm willing to bet Rafael Devers is still a Boston Red Sox as of now. Because this entire ordeal was created and was manifested at the hands of Rafael Devers not handling himself like a professional adult major league baseball player. And I said it at the time, and I'll say it here. I get it. Ideally, when you're one of the best players on your team and certainly the best hitter on your team that's making a healthy living, $300-something million, I understand. Red Sox did not exactly handle it themselves, maybe as perfect as they should have or as Rafael Devers wanted to. I get it, but it happens. It's the nature of professional sports, it's the nature of Major League Baseball. It happens. Sometimes, even when you're at the top of the food chain, things happen and it doesn't go your way. But I also said at the time that I can't listen to Rafael Devers scream and moan and get upset about Bregman coming in too much, because this was the guy whether it was the offseason prior to the 24 season or the 23, it's been within the last 24 to 36 months. In the last 24 to 36 months, it was not that long ago that Rafael Devers was bitching and moaning into a bunch of Boston and New England sports reporting, sports broadcasting microphones, talking about how peeved he was with ownership and with the Red Sox front office for not being more active in free agency. It was a short 24 to 36 months ago. It was not that long ago. And then, now at the 11th hour, but who foresaw that Alex Bregman essentially was going to go the whole offseason unsigned? Who thought that? And they said, oh, you know what? We got a prime opportunity to strike while the iron is hot. A guy that's a former champion, plays a better third base than Devers does, kind of hits like Devers a little bit, a certain extent, from the right-handed side of the plate. He hit the cover off the ball going up against that short porch in left field at Minute Maid. Now it's a taller wall, but it's not that much deep straight away left field at Fenway compared to Minute Maid. So they figure, there's a shorter porch at Yankee Stadium. It's not that deep left field, obviously, in Tampa. You don't have to hit it a long way to hit the ball out of the ballpark. They said, oh, no brainer. We've been quiet for a while. We went out there. We signed for Crochet. We gave him a contract extension. Money's no object. Let's go. And they went in and they got him. And everyone and their mother praised the Red Sox for the signing. Was it the most perfect, ideal situation for Rafael Devers? No, but that's how life is. As my biology teacher used to tell me about 10 years ago, life's a bitch and then you die. And from Rafael Devers' side of things, where he said, well, damn, could they at least have given me a heads up that they were at least interested or engaging in contract talks to bring him in? I mean, if they wanted to, they wouldn't be out of pocket for cluing you in. But the bottom line is, you're the talent, you're the player, you're the quote-unquote labor. You handle the labor business and let the executives and the higher-ups that you report to, not the other way around, you let them handle their business and they will let you handle your business. They don't tell you how to hit, and you don't tell them how to basically build a baseball team. Would have been nice if Henry and Craig Breslow clued Devers in. In a perfect world, maybe if this is the NBA, yeah, possibly. But, we have to keep in mind. Now, it's different people within the front office in terms of the GM, assistant GM, all that other sort of stuff. But it's the same ownership group with John Henry and Tom Warner, the executive producer of The Cosby Show in a Different World, who co-owns the team with John Henry, with the Fenway Sports Group people. Same ownership group. Lest we forget, about 20 years prior, the Red Sox were in conversations to bring in another free agent third baseman, if you remember correctly. Another free agent right-handed hitting infielder. It was A-Rod. And they thought for sure Alex Rodriguez was signed, sealed, and delivered. Without a shadow of a doubt, Alex Rodriguez was going to be a Boston Red Sox. They let a few players in the know that, were tight with Theo Epstein, whatever. They let them know. Kevin Millar goes right in the middle of the offseason, like December, around close to Christmas of 2003. He goes on Sports Center, gets interviewed by Dan Patrick. Dan Patrick basically says, among other things, who would you rather have as your shortstop for the Boston Red Sox in 2004? Nomar Garciaparra, who was already there, or Alex Rodriguez? And Kevin Millar looks dead in the camera and says, I'll take or will take A-Rod. And from then on out, Terry Francona's first year as Red Sox manager, coming in replacement of Grady Little, was fired after that debacle with Pedro in Game 7 of 2003. He immediately has a 8-alarm clubhouse fire on his hands that fractures the locker room. It does not go away the remaining months of the offseason. It carries into spring training. The team plays like absolute garbage the first few months of the year. Nomar and Kevin Millar, who were tight prior to that incident, their relationship never was the same. And they had a festering issue within the locker room. And also, by the way, the A-Rod deal, spoiler alert, fell through. So it's fine if Millar said that and they shipped Nomar off, no big deal. The trade with Texas fell through. A-Rod's still under contract at that time with the Texas Rangers, and the Red Sox are still stuck with Nomar. They don't get A-Rod, they're stuck with Nomar, and it carries into the season. So with that, and this is all under John, the same ownership group owned the Red Sox, then John Henry, then, and back 20-something years ago. These are smart individuals. We can quibble whether or not they're cheap, but they're not idiots. They were not going to essentially make the same mistake twice, damn near a carbon copy almost, and make the same mistake twice, run their mouth, tell Devers essentially you're being replaced at third, not being replaced in terms of you being shipped out of town replaced, but at the position that you play, you're being replaced. We're either going to move you to first base or relegate you to being hitting only. You're being replaced at third base. We think that Bregman is better than you. And then say that to them, make their feelings known in private about how they're moving. Devers has some time to think about it. Remember, it's not in season where he's in the rhythm and in the flow of the, okay, fine, yeah. You got to go. Meetings, BP, on-field stuff. Got to play the game every single. No, he's not in the rhythm and the ebbs and flows of it being what it is right now in season. It's off-season. Off-season. Which means he's away from the team, away from his teammates, away from the coaching staff, and there's a lot more opportunities and more frequent opportunities for people that he holds near and dear to his heart that he's around that, for better or for worse, don't have the Red Sox's best interests at heart that can put bugs in his ear. Oh, man, fuck the Red Sox, man. They say they're going to do you dirty, replace you after all you've done for this team. They just gave you and you hear that. You hear that. You're guarded or protected by the wall or under the umbrella of the Boston Red Sox. So anybody that's within a common contact of Rafael Devers, whether it be a spouse, an extended or an immediate family member, friends he has outside of the game, whatever the case might be, they all have his ear. They all have his ear. And eventually, he hears enough of it, the narrative is going to start to build in his head. And then what happens if, for whatever the reason, either they bring Bregman in or the Bregman deal doesn't fall through, he's going to have to deal with it when he goes to spring training. And it's literally going to be history repeating itself. And it low-key did to a certain extent, but imagine what would have happened if the Bregman deal fell through, and for whatever reason they weren't able to sign Alex Bregman. And then they're like, "Yeah, Rafi," and it's that awkward think that you can do better, and then you think that the better opportunity that lies on the other side, that's available to you, it falls through, and then it's like that awkward, hey, welcome back, I love you. No. And then the relationship and everything else, it's fractured after the fact. So the Red Sox were not going to make the same mistake twice and essentially playing their hand or showing their hand before they were ready to deal in terms of letting Rafi Devers in the loop. They were not going to do that. Nor, quite frankly, should they have done that, because that's not Rafi Devers' place. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's not Aaron Judge. He's not Juan Soto. He's not Shohei Ohtani. He's good, but he's not on those guys' level. As an overall player, as a hit, he's just not on their level. He's not on their level. And listen, I said this in May. when they asked him to move to first base when Casas broke his leg. I said you would figure that the Red Sox would have enough common courtesy or at least be forward thinking enough to realize, hey, we did bring this guy in and sign this guy for him to carry out one specific job. And that is originally to be third base. And then when we reneged on that, for him to be the DH. And for the Red Sox to kind of say, oh, hey, can I, throw a Hail Mary attempt and see if I can get you to move outside of your comfort zone, one more time just for kicks and giggles. From Rafael Devers' standpoint, I could understand why he was a little frustrated and why he was a little miffed the second time around. I can understand that. Because you asked me once, I said no, and then you put into another situation, albeit unforeseen and unfortunate because of injury, and then you're going to sit here and ask me again. So from Devers' standpoint, I said at the time, I understand his frustration because they asked him no, and because they asked him the first time, he said no. They're going to turn around and ask him a second time and expect a different answer. He's formerly their third baseman and now DH. And like I said, when you're a DH, just your everyday DH, you don't go through the same day in and day out activities, similar, but you don't go through the exact same carbon copy day in, day out activities as someone that plays in the field every day. The time that Rafael Devers, if he was playing in the field, would be out there on the field shagging fly balls or taking grounders or whatever, or practicing turning DPs and run down all sorts of pregame in the middle of the afternoon. Times where if he's in the field, he's doing that. What's he doing? He's putting more extra time in the cage. So then you're going to sit up here and ask him, less than 2 months into the new season, drop all of that and essentially reteach yourself the routine of divvying up your preparation time between being in the field, playing in the field, and obviously in the cages and in the film room working on your hitting. And I said it in defense of Devers. It was unfair for the Red Sox to turn around and do that when they went through the whole song and dance 2 months before and it didn't end well. And they turned around and they did it again and expect it to go any better than what happened the first time. So, and that's why I said both sides are at fault. It wasn't the Red Sox fault the first time. They did what Devers wanted them to do, that's to improve the team. But when they saw that asking him to play another position or to basically compromise struck a nerve, that's it. That's it. If that means you got to go out and pick up Anthony Rizzo off the streets, do it. But if I was running the team, I'm saying, okay, it wasn't that long ago, and then not to mention it also festered because Devers for the first week and a half, 2 weeks of the season couldn't get a hit if you were throwing them slow pitch softballs at 40 miles an hour. So, again, the Red Sox are at fault because they should have learned the first time, okay, he's miffed, you hit a nerve, don't ask again. And they didn't learn their lesson, and they went there and they poked the bear second time, and all they did was just make matters worse. And Devers was still never let go what happened with the whole Bregman third base drama in spring training. And Devers stood his ground. Rightly or wrongly, he stood his ground. Now, I'm of the thinking that if you're Rafael Devers making a handsome salary to play a sport for a living, and how I was raised and the type of coaches that surrounded me for the most part of my finite athletic career, how Jai Shields would have handled it, I would have bitten the bullet and played wherever it is they wanted me to play. I'm the highest paid player on the team anyway. I'm the best hitter on the team anyway. I'm also the face of the franchise. So I would have I might have kicked and screamed, but eventually I would have shut myself up, calmed myself down, and said, all right, fine. You need me to be the DH? All right, I won't like it. I may kick and scream and mumble under my breath for a few days, but eventually I'll be at peace with it. I'll accept it, and we can move on and get back to winning games. With the Casas thing, would have been a little annoyed, but said, you know what? If playing in the field is something that I really want, which you low-key got the feeling the first time around that's what Devers, enjoyed doing, is playing in the field and not just being just a designated hitter, which in a span of 162 low-key would feel sort of robotic because you serve no use to the team on a game and game out base outside about 3-4 at bats a game. You don't play the field. You're not playing. So I understand that. But if playing in the field is something that he really wanted to do and something that he took pride in, he should have took his happy ass over to first base and played first base when Casas went out. But again, I understand him being a little miffed, being a little bit pissed off because we went through the same machination with the Red Sox and he before with Bregman, except it was the other way around. Don't field and just hit. And the thing became a firestorm less than 3 weeks into spring training. And then they repeated insanity and expected a different result. But because he wanted to essentially be just as petty as the Red Sox, it led to a contentious standoff that never got resolved. And then when you thought that they were about to put it behind them because they played the Yankees back-to-back weekends, last weekend in their place, Father's Day weekend in their place for the second consecutive year, they take 5 of 6 from them, including a sweep this weekend. Devers hits a home run yesterday to put the finishing touches on another victory, and everything all of a sudden blows up. I mean, it is. This is the most bizarre in-season trade. Not to sound hyperbolic or to sound, sarcastic, but this is the most jarring in-season trade I've seen, literally since Luka. Literally since Luka. They traded away Jordan Hicks, James Sibbs, and Jose Bello to get Rafael Devers. Listen, if you're the Giants, you haven't gotten a big time free agent name or a big time name from another team, whether they be free agency or via trade, since Bonds in '93. You've missed having that big bopper in the left-handed hitter's batter's box for a long time. They haven't taken on such an expensive contract that Devers has now on their books in a while. Granted, they're the most recent dynasty within Major League Baseball, winning 3 and 4, all that other sort of stuff. But that was, 10, 11 years ago. They just lost a series to the Dodgers, and you figure that they need improvement in their lineup by any means necessary, and any improvement would help. I mean, it is a slam dunk from the perspective of the San Francisco Giants. They're 41 and 31, 10 games above 500. 2 games back to the Dodgers now. They've won 7 out of the last 10. Go for it, man. Go for it. Really outside of since Bruce Bochy has left, what season have they really had to hang on to be proud of if you're a San Francisco Giants fan? What, the 2021 season, and that's been it. They've either been a bad baseball team or if they've been mediocre, that's been, lost in the sauce of the Dodgers' regular season and now postseason greatness, throwing the Padres, taking a little bit of that sunshine, throwing the Arizona Diamondbacks, who a few years ago made it to the World Series, won the National League pennant. So from a Giants perspective, it's a perfect trade. It's a perfect trade. Now, I'm seeing reports that he didn't demand a trade. He didn't have to demand a trade. The fact of the matter that he made it known where he stood with the Red Sox hierarchy on his spot and his positioning on that team and what his role was. He opened up that can of worms all the way back in March. He didn't have to go into Craig Breslow's office or on John Henry's private plane or yacht and say, I demand to be traded. I don't want to play for the Boston Red Sox. He didn't have to do that. His attitude now didn't show on the field in terms of his play, but I guarantee you his attitude behind the scenes, behind closed doors, told the team that he had no interest in being there long term anymore. Both sides were at fault. Literally, this whole fiasco dating back to early March of this year literally boils down to pride. Red Sox were too prideful to do what they should have done to prevent this mountain to be made out of the small molehill that it was. Devers, with his pride, refusing to accommodate the team. You're making money handle. Just play where they tell you to play and keep it moving. And also keep in mind too, this is not like a veteran Red Sox team. This isn't a team that's got a bunch of 30-something-year-olds on it that have established MLB careers, that's been in the league for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years. Guys all up and down that locker room that have won World Series. This is not the 2018 Dodgers anymore. This is a relatively young and upcoming and unproven Boston Red Sox team. So what message, if you're one of the more elder, more accomplished, and better players in LA, what message does it send to the young bucks if you're not willing to make a sacrifice or step out of your comfort zone for the betterment of the baseball team and their goal and their objective, which is winning games, to put together a season to be proud of, to make it into the postseason, and then from there embark to a World Series? What type of message does that send? That's another reason why probably Boston wanted to get rid of him, because he looks at it and he's like, this guy, willingly or unwillingly, he's a bad influence on these young guys in the locker room. Bad influence. Because then it may not be now, may not be next year, but there's going to become a time where those young bucks in that locker room, the Jaron Durans of the world, Roman Anthony, if he turns out to be any good, those guys are going to carry, whether it's with the Red Sox or with another team later on in their careers, they're going to carry on that same mindset. And that's not a mindset that a Major League Baseball player has to have, especially if they want to win and especially if they want to be great. Sometimes you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. This is how the sport is. You play every day, 162. The season in terms of the day count plus the games you play is over 180-something days long, from late March to late September. I mean, it's the nature of the sport. And I, for one, am not that can remember, was not that long ago, where when the Orioles had a revolving door at left field, had a revolving door at third base, and in the case of shortstop and right field due to injury to J.J. Hardy, and who couldn't stay healthy because of back injuries and everything else, and Nick Markakis when he was gone for the back end of the Orioles pennant race in 2012 because of a CC Sabathia pitch that hit him up around his wrist late that season, and he was gone for it. When the Orioles had a revolving door at shortstop and right field due to injury, and left field because they couldn't find anybody any good, whether just being cheaper, there wasn't that many good left fielders available. There's two names that come to mind that played out of position without bitching and moaning, without screaming, and did whatever they could to help the team win games. Two guys. Ryan Flaherty, who essentially played damn near every single position out there on the baseball field except for catching itself, and Chris Davis. Chris Davis, by trade, is a designated hitter and a first baseman. But he played a handful of games at third base when Manny Machado when they didn't have a third baseman, and when Manny Machado was lost due to injury in 2013 and the majority of the 2014 season. Played right field when Nick Markakis was out with the broken hamate bone in his wrist. Had no problems playing left field. Ryan Flaherty had no problems playing in the outfield, taking reps at first base. He was a second baseman, shortstop by trade. He would play third base, play first, play the outfield. And if those guys can do it, I understand Ryan Flaherty is nowhere near as good of a baseball player, nowhere near as good of a hitter as Rafael Devers is, but that's besides the point. You do what's best for the team. You do what's best for your teammates, because when your teammates and your coaches and the fans see that you're willing to go out of your way, be a little inconvenienced, step outside of your comfort zone a little bit, and make a decision by playing a position that's out of the ordinary, but you're willing to play and you're willing to learn it on the fly because your team needs you in the lineup and needs a body in that given spot on the baseball field, you earn the respect of your teammates, you damn sure earn the respect of your coaches, and you earn the respect of your fans. Rafael Devers may have earned his respect with his bat and with his play, But I think it's safe to say that he lost a lot of respect with a few players who I don't know, how many I don't know, within that locker room, obviously within the ownership group in the front office. And for some Red Sox fans, not all, but with some, even some Red Sox fans had enough. I know a few that was like, I'm glad he's gone. He was simply acting like a bitch because they asked him to play out of position the second time and asked him to go to DH when they brought Bregman in after he did nothing but bitch and moan for years that they didn't bring any talent, free agency, elite talent in the offseason. They bring one in at the 11th hour, no less, but they bring him in anyway, and then he has a problem with that. So I know some Red Sox fans that are, they're going to miss his bat in the lineup. They're going to miss him tearing up Yankee pitching, especially Garrett Cole. But there's some Red Sox fans out there that are saying, you know what, good riddance. He'll be a great teammate now on his best behavior in San Francisco. It was almost like he went out of his way to be a horse's ass. And now he's going to have no problem playing first base. Obviously, they got Matt Chapman over there at third. He's not going to play third. He's going to go there, play first base, and keep his damn mouth shut, which is going to look very disingenuous and just very, fraudulent on his part. But the whole thing is a mess. Both sides of the blame. Both sides. The Red Sox couldn't let Devers' problem die when they broke camp in Fort Myers, and they let it fester when asking him to play first when Casas went down with a broken leg. And Devers is at fault because, again, one last time, if he handles himself like a professional adult, the first time in March when Bregman was first brought into the building, and he handles himself better and he handled himself with a little bit more class, I guarantee you the seed of him possibly being moved in season doesn't even come to fruition, no pun intended. But he did. Red Sox and he in turn wouldn't let it die. I mean, it reached a breaking point. Hard to believe because he's, again, had a great season, and the Red Sox have played well outside of about their 2.5, 3 week hiccup. They've played better recently. But this is the second time I've seen it happen in sports this calendar year. I think this is the first time I've seen something as this in-season trade, this shocking, this damning, this juicy and intriguing from all angles. This is the first time I've experienced this with an in-season baseball trade in a long, I think if ever, honestly, ever. Because there's a lot of layers to this. But this is something that, especially, and if you're a Red Sox fan, you want to kill the Red Sox on this, you can kill them on this aspect, because that the timing of it is terrible. The timing to trade Rafael Devers was when the team couldn't get out of their own way. They split the series to the lowly Orioles, and they were just fumbling and stumbling over their own shoelaces and couldn't get out. The time to trade Devers was about a month ago. 3 weeks to a month ago. The time to trade him was then, when the morale of the team was at an all-time low and the team was floundering, and that was just going to be the team's extra, one last final shot to chest to mark the dead season, at its DOA time. But for them to wait for the team to get themselves together, the illusion, at least from the outside perspective, that everything is sugar and spice with everything nice with Devers in the team. Take 5 out of 6 from the Yankees back-to-back weekends, including a sweep in your home ballpark that was sold out and was packed off. That you can definitely take the Red Sox to task on. Definitely. On top of the fact that it didn't even bother to trade him when he was still in the building. They had to, what did they have to do? They had to, he was on his way to the airport, and they had to take him, I think, off the bus and get him in the cab and get him back to the stadium, let him know that he was going to be traded. So he literally was about to, I don't know where Boston is. I think they got a West Coast trip coming up. But for them to wait as long as they did, and to let him know, and trading him on a game day just was not the right thing to do. Was not the right thing to do. And the thing that also makes it worse is that, and they were engaged with talks with it was the Giants, the Braves, and I think it was another team that was involved. I think it might have been the Padres was the third team they were talking with. No, it was, yeah, the Padres, Braves, and Blue Jays inquired about Devers' availability. So they had inquiries about him being traded, and they turn around over this past homestand, and they have his 225 City Connect jerseys and $200 regular jerseys on sale and available at the team store at the stadium, and then they trade him at the 11th hour before they embark on a 10-game road trip. And also, by the way, a leg of that will be in San Francisco coming up this weekend against the Giants. So, and then they also have a clause in their return policy where they say merchandise we no longer carry and or merchandise of a player that has been traded or whose number is changed, they won't take any returns or exchanges. Now, Fanatics will if you buy a jersey on the internet, but if you buy it in person at the team store, they're not going to either give you a new give you a Roman Anthony jersey or give you your money back, which is just that's very Cincinnati Bengals esque if from the Boston Red Sox. I got to be honest. Yeah, here's a quote. Source with knowledge of the relationship described it as unsalvageable situation from both parties. Devers was frustrated with the mixed messaging from different voices in the organization. Yeah, so both sides, right? Like I said, both sides are at fault for this. Both sides are to blame. There's no one over the other. Both sides are to blame. Red Sox were just as prideful, just as petty, just as unprofessional as Rafael Devers was. So, I mean, they broke up now, so it's just best for both sides just to go about it from here on out like adults. Put your head down, move on, and don't, if anything else, add more unnecessary drama onto this foolishness when the two will temporarily reconvene in San Francisco coming up later on this weekend. Now, and again, in terms of what it means for both teams, Giants gives them a left-handed bat. Devers has got good opposite field power and can hit for power and can hit for contact. Now, it's a little bit deeper in left field. A little bit. It is a more of a pitcher's park to more so to the right-handed side. I guess the pitcher's park all the way around the way you look at it. Now, McCovey Cove is a lot shorter, dead set to right field at AT&T compared to what it is in Fenway, which if you're not hitting it where in that general area close to the Pesky's pole can be a pain in the ass to hit. If you are a right-handed, or excuse me, a left-handed hitting hitter at Fenway Park, but I mean, he'll do well there. Games and I know the Giants gone to. I know they went there once. Were there over the span of the last week before they went to Dodger Stadium. Do they go to Oracle again? Even if they don't, he's got plenty of more times to show up at Oracle throughout the duration of his contract. Yeah, they've only been to Denver once. When do they go again? They go back to Denver early September. So they go to Denver in early September, and then obviously the rest of his contract, which will do his numbers a tremendous service. Relatively, it's a little bit of a bandbox. Now the Marine layer, depending on the time of the year, will kill a lot of potential home run balls that maybe go out at Fenway Park that may, obviously go out at Yankee Stadium, will go out in Tampa, will go out with the short porch at Camden Yards that won't necessarily make it out in certain parts of the year at Dodger Stadium and won't go out. Now, granted, it's the high altitude, but it's not. It's certainly not a short porch in terms of the home plate to warning track distance at Coors Field. Obviously, it's no bandbox at Chase Field. Now, it's inside, but it's no bandbox by any stretch of the imagination, especially from about left center field all the way through right. It's not that much. It's not that short of a distance. So we'll see. I mean, it's not going to be a tremendous drop off. It probably might be a little about the same, one would figure. Maybe he becomes a slightly better home hitter than he is on the road now because of this, because the road ballparks. Now I think the ballpark San Francisco to Oracle, there might be a slight uptick Fenway compared to Oracle with his numbers, but I think on the road it could be a little bit of a drop off because there's a little bit more of a greater challenge hitting in Colorado, albeit with the high altitude. Regardless, the San Francisco Giants are a much better baseball team with a much better hitter that'll be the anchor in their lineup now compared to around this time yesterday afternoon, which is all that matters. In terms of the Red Sox, they're 6.5 games back on the Yankees. They're now officially back over 500, 37-36. They've won 8 out of the last 10, 5 in a row, plus 22 in the run differential. They currently hold the second team out spot in terms of the wild card standings, a half game back of the Seattle Mariners, who are 36-34, riding a 3-game win streak of their own. So it'll be interesting to see if the young, scrappy Red Sox can band themselves together and rally around each other to finish what they intend on doing, that's making the postseason, seeing if they can, as the season wears on, give the Yankees a bigger scare in terms of the standings for first place in the American League East. But you figure when this signing has pissed off the majority of this fan base, at least the fan base, the parts of it I've seen and I have communicated with on Twitter over the span of the last 18 something hours, on top of the fact that it comes literally in the same day, just hours after they sweep the first place, big bad, hated arch nemesis rival New York Yankees in their own ballpark. I mean, it's just, talk about worst timing. So I think, and I kind of believe in the timing being right and there being a time and a place and karma in the confines of sports and momentum and everything. I like that. That's true. Momentum is true and is real to me, especially in professional team sports. And if there's anything that could muck up the rolling train of the Boston Red Sox, I figure and I fear it'll be this trade. If they go ahead and nosedive and somehow, some way get passed by the Orioles just within the divisional standings alone, it would not shock me in the slightest. And this is a team with Devers on it that wasn't playing all that well, really outside of the Yankees series. When you think about it, when you talk about it consistently, really hadn't been playing all that well collectively from start to finish throughout the course of the relatively young year. And now this trade happens and the fan base is fitting to be tied. You can imagine that the attendance when they do get back from this 10-day West Coast road trip, that the morale is going to be even lower when they get lower now. And depending on what happens against those teams on that West Coast trip, it could get even lower. And it's going to come back to Fenway in about a week and a half, 2 weeks' time, and there's going to be nobody in the ballpark. Matter of fact, let me see. They got Seattle this week for 3, and then they got the Giants over the weekend. So by the time they get back by the Blue Jays and the Reds, the building might be half empty because outside of the Mariners can pitch. The Giants have been spectacular this year, this weekend at Dodger Stadium notwithstanding, and the Angels have been better, respectable than anything can happen. I mean, if they go 3-6 on that road trip, or even what, 4-5, the attitude around the team, if not already, is going to be so irreplaceable that eventually the team is going to, you would figure, is going to nosedive. Now they can pitch. They did an excellent job, and I guess we can use that as a transition now to the Yankees series. They did an absolutely phenomenal job shutting down the Yankees over the course of the weekend. Garrett Whitlock, who has yet to lose a game this season, 8 1/3, 1 run, struck out 7, gave up 4 hits, went toe-to-toe with Max Fried, went into the bottom of the 10th inning, and he ended up winning that game by the final score of 2-1. They got a solid starting pitching outing from Dobbins, who prior to his start in Yankee Stadium 2 Sundays ago ran his mouth and said, listen, if they were the last team on this universe, I would never play for the New York Yankees. He gives up a 2-run home run to Judge, and ever since then, he put the Yankees right in their place. He talked smack, and he backed it up. 6 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball was absolutely phenomenal. Weissert came in the ninth. The close made things a little interesting there at the end, but held the Yankees offense relatively in check the entire weekend. Their starting rotation, so they can pitch. But again, what do I say all the time? In order to win in the postseason, you got to be able to pitch. In order to make it to the postseason, you got to be able to hit. And I'm sorry, even though the drama may be free of the Boston Red Sox organization and that locker room, and things may be a little bit more, less tense and less awkward on the team bus and in the team hotel for their meetings and everything, still X's and O's on paper got rid of their best hitter and most experienced hitter on the team. I don't care what sport it is, you don't get better getting. It's the same thing, like similar to Luka and the Dallas Mavericks. You may have gotten the off the field nonsense out of the room, and maybe in that finite vacuum things are better, but it still doesn't change the fact that on paper with your roster, X's and O's, talking basketball, you got worse because you got rid of your best player and most talented player, most productive player in Luka Doncic. What I said for Luka and the Mavs in February applies with the Red Sox here in June. Off the field stuff, maybe the team got better and there is a relief post Rafi getting traded, but on the field, between the white lines, the Boston Red Sox got worse. Maybe not for the future, but for 2025, when there are only 6.5 games out of first place and a half game back of a playoff spot, the Boston Red Sox got worse. And you can't convince me of anything of the contrary. Now, in the future, who knows? In the future, who knows? The 2026, 2027, 2028 Red Sox may end up making it to 3 straight ALCSs, go to 2 World Series, won one of them, and this will be long forgotten. But in the moment, right here, right now, June 16th of 2025, the Boston Red Sox baseball team for this specific season, this specific year, got worse. And honestly, at this point in time of the season, where it's not early, but it's not late, but it's also not early, I don't see how the team will be able to recover from that, especially when they had to climb an egregious mountain just to get back to above 500. Taking 2 out of 3 from the Yankees, winning a series against Tampa and sweeping the Yankees just to get their heads above water like this. And now all of a sudden you throw an anchor in attached to the ankle and getting rid of their best hitter. So I don't see the Boston Red Sox being a consistently good team or even showing flashes of being consistently good. And I don't see, this nice stretch of baseball lasting long. Eventually the chickens are going to come home to roost. And because even though they did what maybe is best for the team going forward, the Red Sox, again, they're going to pay for allowing this situation to fester in their wrongdoing of this Devers situation. But they can pitch, did a phenomenal job. Bello yesterday, 7 innings of 3-hit, 8 strikeout, shutout ball. Switching gears quickly to the Yankees, it's more of the same with this team. I mean, the fact that they had back-to-back games in which Jason Dominguez and Ben Rice ran into. I mean, it's just for it to happen at the major league level in 2025 in the age of technology and the advanced analytical garbage and having the iPads and all this for it to happen. I don't care that they're young guys and they're wet behind the ears in their early 20s, haven't been here a while. They're not Judge, they're not Stanton, they're not. I'm not interested. The fact that we got players on teams that are contending to win a World Series championship on a current first place team that is the defending current American League for this to continue. I mean, what in the hell does Aaron Boone and the Yankees coaching staff do for a month and a half in Tampa, Florida in spring training? Boone and Eagles fans still had his head up in the clouds for the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. What, 41 to 6, whatever the score. I mean, what was he doing? What was he doing? What does this team do? Because I don't understand how a team such as the New York freaking Yankees can be so flagrantly just dumb and it's so flagrantly incompetent like this. Running in the outs on a base pass, standing on second base in back-to-back games. Like, how does this happen? How does this happen? We can sit up and make government. Well, this year it's been toned down. It hasn't been as frequent this year as it has been years. But the fact that it's still happening under this manager, when it has been this team, and I was listening to Brandon Tierney on WFAN on the drive home from work earlier today. And he said, well, I'm not going to overreact because the Yankees this year, they've been buttoned up in that aspect, buttoned up on the field, buttoned up on a basis. Yeah, this year in a vacuum, if you want to analyze it specifically with this year's team in 2025, yeah, they've been buttoned up. But if you're a Yankee fan or a Yankee observer, or you get paid to talk about the Yankees for a living, or you write about them for a living, you're doing yourself a disservice by treating this weekend in Fenway Park as an isolated incident. Now, is the team exactly the same from a year-on-year basis? No, we understand the players come and go. Bellinger wasn't here. This is Goldschmidt's first year here. Rice, his second year. Dominguez, second year, first full year. So I get it. You want to dissect the 26-man roster, you can find guys that it's either their first or their second year here that wasn't here in 23, wasn't here in 22, wasn't here. So if we can nitpick, we can nitpick. But the fact of the matter of it is, it's still relatively the same general coaching staff led by the exact same manager, and his attitude, his points of emphasis, his mantra, his everything that you see played out on the field, it starts with the manager who's been there since 2018, and it works its way down the totem pole. That's how leadership works, not just in sports, but it works that way in life. You can change the actual players on the team. You can change the employees left and right. The fact of the matter of it is, if the leadership is still the same and you're still seeing the same cycle of tomfoolery go on under the same leadership, it's not an isolated incident. Same movie, same plot, just different cast of supporting characters, but the main protagonist remains the same. And it's the same thing with the New York Yankees. This is stuff you expect out of last place teams. This is stuff you expect from the White Sox. The stuff you expect from the A's. The stuff you expect from the Colorado Rockies. The stuff you expect from the my Oriole team, and they've done it a handful of times this year. Believe me, this is stuff you expect from the Washington Nationals, from the Miami Marlins. The stuff you expect from the Pittsburgh Pirates. That's the stuff you expect from those bad teams. Not a team that's in first place with over 40 wins through Father's Day weekend, trying to win a World Series championship. So yeah, you can say isolated incident in a vacuum. They've been good this year, but you can't look at it at just this year, especially when this team is literally coming off of a World Series in which they lost in large part because they were so piss poor at the basic fundamentals. I can find high school teams that can get this right. It's not that difficult, people. It's not rocket science. If you're piss poor at the fundamentals of a given sport, you're not going to win. It's just, why is this like a foreign concept? Why is this rocket science? And nobody, for the most part, says anything. We think, Aaron Judge hitting 400, Yankees gone to World Series, and Garrett Cole is, Whitey Ford, and we magically forget about this. And we sit up here and we scratch our head late October wondering why the Yankees don't win the World Series every single year. You can't win beating yourselves. I've talked about it with these guys literally for a whole calendar year now at this point. It's not any different between either it's these guys or the Yankees. It doesn't change. You go out of your way to beat yourself or not flagrantly fix or vehemently fix The issues that lead to you beating yourself, what are you going to expect? So you're going to click your heels 3 times and magically everything's going to change? It's the same thing. And at the same time of the year, the Yankees, listen, as an Orioles fan, I couldn't get enough. The Yankees getting this shit stuff by the Dodgers and the Red Sox back-to-back weekends. Chef's kiss. Oh, it brought a tear to my eye. Love it. Aaron Boone up to his old. I'll pull it up. Aaron Boone up to his old tricks again. I wish they played another game. I wish the Yankees could play nobody but the Dodgers and the Red Sox and the Mets for that matter. Their entire schedule. I'm sick of them beating up on the American League Central. How many times I got to see them beat the piss out of the Guardians and the Royals who stink? Nobody cares. I want to see the New York Yankees go up against those bad boy teams because every single time they play them, they put the Yankees dead set in their place. More of the same under my favorite manager in all of sports, the great Aaron Boone. Under my umbrella. Hey, 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 hey. Under my umbrella. Hey, 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 hey. So more the same with them. The Yankees running into outs on the bases. They getting the bats turning the sawdust against Red Sox starting pitching, or in the Dodgers and the Mets case, superior starting pitching. When Judge doesn't hit, they don't hit. That's a check mark. They don't play well against what do we talk about? When you give them the Dodgers, the Mets, the Red Sox, and a mix of either the Rays or the Orioles, depending on who's having the better year, the Yankees don't win. It's like getting them to win games out of going up against those teams, like sitting through a root canal if you're a Yankee fan. If you hate the Yankees, such as me, it's like sitting through a lap dance, which is an enjoyable experience. But if you're a Yankee fan, it's like sitting through a root canal. You give them the Dodgers, the Mets, the Red Sox, and either the Orioles or the Rays, depending on who's better in a given season, it's like sitting through a root canal. And again, it's a reflection on the Yankee leadership. I don't necessarily look at that as being Cashman's fault. I look at it as being this guy's fault. Because that's coaching. What do I say with my football team? When the Bengals consistently can't get out of their own way against the Ravens, the Browns, to a lesser extent the Pittsburgh Steelers, and against bad teams early in the season, that's a reflection of coaching. Because that's a lack of being prepared. Not rocket science, people. Not rocket science. I understand if it was simple and easy, everybody will be working professional sports, but it doesn't also mean on the flip side that we're sitting here splitting this atom here. It's not that difficult to comprehend. Same issues exist. Yankees can't win in Fenway Park. They can't beat Boston. They can't beat the Dodgers. And before that, they can't beat the Mets. They can't. Those big-time appointment television series in a given regular season, the Yankees always curl up into a ball like an armadillo and roll feebly into the night, losing games and losing series and sometimes getting swept hand over fist. It's been the calling card of this team under this manager since he's gotten there. On top of the fact of them running in the outs left and right on the base pass and their offense not being able to do a damn thing if Aaron Judge isn't whacking 4 homers a night. It's who they are at this point. The only thing you can do is just hope and pray, if you're a Yankee fan, that eventually they either work themselves out of it or it gets coached out of them and they can just get back to playing how they were in April and May. But yet again, what month is it? It's June, which means, the annual Yankee June swoon is here. They have a great first 2 months of the season and a great last 2 months of the season. And then the meat and potatoes months of the year, June and July, the Yankees look like a last place team, which is why no matter how great their starts to the season are, is why it's been a hot minute since they've won 100 games. And look, now, granted, Cincinnati, the A's, the Angels, and the Orioles, in theory, that should be easy. But with the Yankees this time of the year, nothing's never easy with them. And then in July, it's not like it gets any better. They got the Rays at the end of the month, who's been a pain in the ass. They got the Phillies the series before that at home. The Blue Jays have been better, who's on their first place in the division. They have them the second leg of their road trip post the All-Star break. Yeah, they got Atlanta, who stinks, and the Mariners aren't any good, who the Yankees consistently find a way to beat. But they got the Cubs and the Mets back-to-back weekends, the 4th through the 6th at Citi Field, and the 11th through the 13th at Yankee Stadium. And they open up the month of July against the Blue Jays for 4 at Rogers Center. So their July outside the Atlanta Braves is Murderer's Row. Murderer's Row. And we thought the Yankees were going to run away and hide with the division with a current record right now of 42-28. They've split their last 10 games, 5 losses, 5 wins apiece. Just got swept, and they only got a 3.5 game lead over the Rays. And if the Orioles, God forbid, knock on wood, crash back down to earth and get their shit stuffed by Tampa in these 4 games this week, the Rays could be in first place by Friday morning if the Yankees don't handle their business against the LA Angels. So, yeah, not time to sound the alarms, but it's time where if you're a Yankee fan, you're saying, oh, God, here we go. The annual June swoon is here. Here we go again. This team is going to be hell-bent on making this season, out to be, Giants Patriots Super Bowl 42. It's like the Yankees can't help themselves. Honestly, they can. I mean, Aaron Judge struck out 9 times over the span of the weekend and didn't lead a single game in this series. It's par for the course with this team. I swear to you, it's par for the course. First time in 103 years, the Yankees scored just 4 runs in a 3-game series at Fenway. It's just par for the course with this team. I mean, why am I surprised? What's the saying? There's nothing new underneath the sun. With the Yankees, nothing new is underneath the sun. It's the same, and then they wonder why they don't win. They wonder why they don't win anything. It's a joy to see. It's a joy to see. I hate the Yankees, but even I get a little sick and tired of what did I tell you guys? I can't stand flagrant stupidity being showcased in professional sports today. It's just with the amount of money these guys make now and all the resources at their disposal, I can't. And low key, I should have been rooting for the Yankees to win this weekend because if I want my team to have an Angels prayer to do anything through the rest of this month into the dog days of summer, I need the Boston Red Sox to lose games. So I low-key should be kicking and screaming that Ben Rice and Jason Dominguez didn't have a damn clue in the world at second base getting picked off. I mean, it's like, how in the hell do you allow yourself to get picked off at second base? He's right in front of you, and his back is towards you when he's in the stretch. Oh, my God. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then in typical Aaron Boone fashion, does he yank him off the field and says, here, you're sitting next to me the rest. You'll be in a lot tomorrow, but for the rest of this game, park it. You're sitting next to me. You ain't playing the rest of it. Does he do? No, because Aaron Boone, God forbid. Again, it's another loss, another series, another trip to Fenway Park in Boston under Aaron Boone's umbrella. Under my umbrella. It's just the way it is with him. Always has been. Always will be, hopefully. So yeah, we Dodgers take 2 out of 3 from the Giants, which we touched on. Paez, who's had himself a nice weekend and had a nice performance against the Giants over the span of this past weekend with a home run yesterday. So you give the Dodgers credit; they're starting to get their sea legs back underneath themselves. Here lately, Shohei Ohtani is going to touch the mound for the first time in a hot minute. Later on tonight, the Dodgers currently have a 2-game lead over the Giants. They're 43-29, have won 6 out of the last 10 games. Believe it or not, they don't have a winning percentage of .600, .597 if you want to do the math. The Padres, who have lost 6 out of the last 10, are only 8 games above .500, but still only 3 games back of the Dodgers for first place. I briefly mentioned it. I'll go through it in great detail. Little cause for pause for the New York Metropolitans. They're 45-27. They get the Atlanta Braves so they can feel good about themselves and beat them like a drum down in Atlanta this week on a road trip, but not a good weekend for them. They couldn't hit, and their starting pitching just flamed out on them. This is all there's to it. And now Peterson, who was his second best starter, is now going to have to carry the load being the best starter at the top of their rotation because they don't have Kodai Senga because of due to a hamstring injury, had to come out of the start earlier over the weekend. So a little bit cause for pause for the New York Mets. Did not pitch well throughout the course of this weekend against the Tampa Bay Rays, getting swept, and the Mets just listen. It happens in the span of a 162. They sweep the lowly Nationals. The Braves are no pushover. They couldn't get any outs. Rays put up 7, 8, and 9 runs together on their 3-game sweep. Bats did what they could on Friday. Too little, too late on Saturday, and got shut out 9-0 yesterday afternoon. Off day on Monday. They got the Braves and the Phillies for an NL East road trip, and then they come back home for a short 4-game stint over the course of the work week next Monday through Thursday against the aforementioned Atlanta Braves, and they hit the road for a quick 3 against Pittsburgh, and then they'll be back home in early July before you know it. But listen, you're going to have to deal with the injuries. If you're the Mets, losing Senga sucks. Lineup has to do a better job of stepping up and not allowing, playing game necessary by the margins, winning games by the final score of 2-1, 2-0, 3-2 every single night. And the Mets, if you take a look, are not one of the better hitting teams with runners in scoring position at the course of the relatively young-ish season. So they're going to have to get that in gear and kind of lighten the load a little bit for these starting pitchers and for their rotation and just their pitching staff in general, because you can't live on the margins that the span of a 162 in terms of limited or sporadic offensive outbursts and expect to win games. So no cause for panic, but the Mets definitely got to make some good strides here coming up against Philadelphia and Atlanta this week to get the bad taste of the Tampa Bay Rays series out of their mouths. Now, let's get to the NBA Finals, shall we? And before I even get to games 4 and 5, I got to get something off my chest. I got to. The NBA schedule makers have no idea what the hell they are doing because the NBA Finals schedule stinks. It stinks. There is no rhyme or reason. First of all, I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that the NBA owns Father's Day more than they do Christmas. Think about what I'm saying. The NBA owns Father's Day more so than they do Christmas in 2025. You think about all of the all-time great, classic, memorable games and moments in the history of the NBA Finals in which a game was played on Father's Day. 2 games pop into my head. 96 with the Bulls when Jordan won a championship, the first of the three-peat when he came back after his dad got killed. That was on Father's Day. And that video, that picture of him in the trainer's office with the basketball pinned to his chest, him lying stomach down on the floor, weeping like a baby, missing his dad, winning that championship on Father's Day. I think now, obviously, I wasn't alive. That game took place 6 years before I was born. But if you're a basketball fan, you have any concept of the history of the game, you think about that. And in my mind, in my lifetime, you think about Game 7, Warriors-Cavs 2016, which was played on Father's Day. You think, and I be here all day and night rehashing the many different NBA Finals memorable games and memorable moments within those games that were played on Father's Day. The fact that there was not an NBA Finals game played on Father's Day last night was an absolute abominable, disgusting, pathetic, egregious joke and a disgrace and a spit in the face to every single NBA fan on this planet. How is there not an NBA game on Father's Day? Father's Day. If there's anything that an American father would enjoy doing, I understand you'll have those that aren't basketball fans. They're hockey over basketball. Or they're not sports fans / basketball fans. I understand there's always exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, you will find a large chunk of the American male population who are fathers. What do they enjoy doing? Watching sports, whatever the sport is. It's their prerogative, but it's watching sports. If having the opportunity, going to a sporting event, watching movies, and just lounging and chilling around the house, or if they play golf, whatever, have a hobby, they do that as well. And what better opportunity cap off Father's Day weekend having a game on? What do they think about? What's their thought process? What's their reasoning in the NBA league office for the schedule? I would love to know what it is. I would love to know, because the one that they've been giving us, it has not been it. The 2 days off in between games, I can't take it anymore. This is 2025. Nobody in this day and age where we have smartphones, smart watches, smart TVs, connected devices with video game consoles, Nintendo Switch, PS5, whatever the hell the new Xbox is, and the Wii U if you still play. I mean, we got more items at our disposal to entertain ourselves in this day and age you can shake a stick at. For the younger American, the average time span is damn near non-existent. Get bored with something for a minute and a half and on to something else. That's a negative, but you got to face facts. This is not 1985, where if we're watching a television show or if we're in the midst of watching a sporting event, we do not, or if there's it's during a sequence of a season, whatever, we can't sit around and wait with bated breath for the next game or for the next episode. That's not how this generation operates. We're not going to sit around, lounge around the house and twiddle our thumbs for 8, 9, 10 days or whatever, waiting for the next episode of our favorite TV show or waiting for a next series for basketball, baseball, hockey playoffs to start. We just don't operate that way anymore. Hell, it drives me crazy when Dick Wolf and the people at NBC love to go on these long, exuberant mid-season breaks for their Law and Order and their Chicago shows. The hell you mean I have to sit up here and wait a month for the next episode of Chicago PD? It's a good show, but it's not The Sopranos, okay? I can easily lose interest and lose track of where I am in the show in the 3 week to a month period. It's not a finale. It's not a fall finale. Let's go. Let's keep the train moving. I want the momentum. Episodes rolled out every single week on a consistent basis like clockwork. For the NBA Finals, you got an entertaining league, decent league. The basketball this postseason, for the most part, has been thrilling, entertaining to watch. But do not get it twisted. You are not what you used to be in the 2010s. You aren't what you used to be in the early 2000s. And you damn skippy ain't what you used to be in the 80s and the 90s. Before my lifetime, but I'm speaking for the vast majority of NBA fans today. You're good, but you ain't that good. You're nice, but you're not that nice. Stop with the 2 day reprieve in between every single game. Especially when the series does not change cities. God, that pisses me off. They do it every single year, and it bothers the hell out of me. When they put, and the inconsistency that also rakes my nerves is because when they do have to get these best of 7 games in the second round of the conference finals, they got no problems with these teams playing every other day. Conference finals, they want to make sure that there's a game on essentially every single day for a 10 to from a 14 to a 17-day period, so they make sure there's a game on every single night. Alternating Eastern Conference, Western Conference, they alternate. So that not a day goes by unless one series is already over with and a champion's already been crowned. They make sure that not a day goes by without there being an NBA playoff conference final game on television for us to watch. If they can do it for the conference finals, they can do it for the NBA finals. If they can do it for the second round so they can get all the games that are on television on time and accommodate TNT at the time and ESPN, they can do it for the NBA finals. It's a joke. I mean, it's no momentum. You're not like what did I say like the last episode? But you're not the oldest and most most illustrious championship game of the series, and you're not the most popular, that being the Super Bowl. You're the NBA. You got the youngest league out of all the four sports by a country mile. Baseball has you well beat. Hockey has you well beat. Football has you well beat. You just turned 75 years old within the last few years. The other leagues got a whole generation and then some on you. And they sit there and say, well, small markets, Indiana, OKC. No, maybe the problem isn't Indiana and OKC and the fact that it's not New York with the Knicks and it's not LA with the Lakers, or to a lesser extent the Clippers. It's not because there's no Boston Celtics in it or no Golden State and Steph Curry. Maybe it's just because of the fact that the NBA just does not market their sport well. Their scheduling with this series is just as bad, if not worse. It drives me up the wall insane with this nonsense. It is the same NBA that was hell-bent on putting the games on at 9 o'clock at night so nobody could watch them. Having games being played every other 2 days. What is this? And the thing that even makes it worse is that I understand if this was Golden State and the Knicks, if this was the Lakers and the Knicks, if it was the Clippers and the Knicks, or the Clippers and the Celtics, or the Golden State and Boston again, where it's cross-country travel, a la in the current Stanley Cup final from Edmonton to South Beach. I could meet you halfway. Over 3,000 miles of travel and spending 5.5, 6 hours in the air, just traveling between the two cities. I could understand if it was that. Oklahoma City to Indiana, comparatively speaking, is not a long distance in between two teams, in between two cities. What the hell we need 2 days off in between games for? Now, if you have to have it, fine, but have it on when it's a travel day. And during the first 4 games of the series. So 2 days off in between games 2 and 3, and 2 days off in between games 4 and 5. But in between games 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 day off. You're not changing cities. I understand you run up and down the court. It's a war of attrition. I get that. But you're not football players, okay? Where to get yourself back to normal takes about 4 or 5 days to recover. At this point in time in the season, if your ass ain't in shape, and these are 2 young basketball teams to begin with anyway, come on. It's June. Let's crown a champion and get these guys off to the summer vacation at this point. Enough is enough. Get them the day off in between when the series is exchanging cities, and let's keep this train moving. The more momentum you have, why do you think the World Series? I understand big market LA and New York and the 2 franchises. I get it. But you also one of the reasons why, and that series only went 5 games. One of the reasons why that series also did well relatively ratings-wise, because it was games on every single day. You didn't have a 2-day hiatus in between games 1 and 2 of the World Series. Freddie Freeman hits his walk-off on Friday. You don't see anything from these guys again until Monday night, which is the case with this series, coming off of a bad game. 3 days prior. Drives me insane with the 2 days off. 2 days off for what? You don't need them to take the 2 days off, and you have to make sure that there's something on television so you can make the advertising dollars. Why should anything be different here for your championship series? And it's always been that way. I don't hear nothing about, I saw some people saying, it's an avenue of self-sabotage so they can complain about, look at poor us because he had too smart. No, it's always been this way. You could get Lakers and Knicks in this series right now, and they'd probably give them 5 days off in between games 1 and 2. It's always been this way. Golden State and Boston, it's always been like this. And even then it bothers me and pisses me off. Best of 7 series takes damn near 3 weeks, if not exactly 3 weeks to complete. For what reason? Dragging it out like this. Guys, know the times you live in. This is not the 90s where people watched NBA basketball with bated breath and it dominated the American pop culture landscape. It's 2025. We got Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and all this other crap to steal our attention spans. And that's wanting and yearning and asking and begging for the common American consumer's entertainment dollar and attention span. Know the times you're living in. In the summertime, too, no less. Now, granted, this part of the country, the weather has not been consistently good from, the week of Memorial Day onward. I understand that. But even when the weather does warm up, as it will in the back end of this week, like it was a little bit last week and like it is for the other parts of the country, people aren't going to sit around the TVs. I gotta sit here, make sure I don't go out to dinner, no date night, no going to the beach, no late night moonlight walks on the board, none of that. I gotta sit here and watch him. I mean, come on, people, pay attention. It's the summertime. People go to the beach. They go out of the country on vacation. They go to remote locations off the grid within the country on vacation. They go to the beach. They hang out by the beach. They go on cruises. They go out to eat. They go to restaurants. They go to parties. This isn't the NFL playoffs where it's in the dead of winter. We're freezing our asses off and we're crammed and cooped up inside the house because there's nothing to do outside of the house. Outside of running to some restaurant or some party somewhere and fucking around getting sick. And waking up with a 106-degree fever the next month. I mean, it's not like that. You play the most important part of your season during the best seasonal part of the season for 80% of the country in terms of weather and climate. In an entertainment era where we got smartphones and gadgets and streaming services up the yin-yang. And it's like Adam Silver and the cronies in the league office are too damn either stupid, ignorant, arrogant, or just clueless to see this and fix the obvious problem. Their schedule's a joke. No cross-country travel, and you got to drag the series on for 3 weeks. And then they'll turn around and they'll bitch and moan why they can't get a rating. Because there's no momentum with this series, because you got to sit up here and sit in our hands and wait 3 days for a new game. In between yesterday, which is the start of a new work week, and Saturday. And in this one single week, from the 15th through the 21st, that 7-day period, do you know there's only 2 games being played this entire week, starting with yesterday through this upcoming Saturday of this ensuing weekend? Only 2 games are being played in a 7 singular day period. Why? For what? Kills momentum, kills the casual or the non-diehard basketball and or Pacer or Thunder fans' interest. And then in turn, you won't get a halfway decent rating. And then the thing that'll kill me, and then if you do lock in with these conspiracies, knock yourself out. And this is where it holds no weight if you do entertain these, where they bring out the quote unquote extender in Scott Foster to make sure that the NBA gets at least a 6th game, with both teams now having 1-2 games apiece, forcing a game 5. Now you put yourself in a situation where, or not forcing a game 5, but you get what I'm saying. Now put yourself in this, well, they bring them in, because they call them the extender, so the NBA can get a 6 game, so they can, because that's where they make their advertising dollars. And the deeper the series goes, the better rated and more watched the NBA Finals will be. But yet they turn around and then in between games 5 and 6, they'll play 2 games in a 7-day period. So you'll bring out tinfoil hat. You'll bring out Scott Foster to make sure that you hit your game 6 quota, but then in turn, you'll take forever for us to get to a game 6 with the days off foolishness. Again, it's stupidity. Stupidity. Well, they got to make the money with the advertising. They got to make sure they get the rating. Okay, well, if they were that so focused and were so just financially in tune with what is good for the business part of the NBA, please explain to me why in this singular week there's only 2 games being played in a 7-day stretch, and why it literally takes them 2 weeks to get through the first 4 games of the series. Again, they're just dumb. Just dumb. I mean, if I was in charge, first of all, I wouldn't have even started the series on that Thursday, the 5th. I would have, because of the fact that there was no game 7 and OKC 1-5, you want to make sure that you keep the momentum going and you have as little days off as humanly possible. Hell, they gave OKC only 2 days off in between game 7 against Denver and game 1 against Minnesota. That's nothing. I can't stand the inconsistency. They got no problem saying to hell with your extra rests and to hell with the unnecessary added days off during the series, when they got to make sure they get the games in an appropriate time frame so the conference finals doesn't essentially leak until the first week of June. But then once they get to the finals, they want to take this sweet time and take up 3 weeks to damn near a month. They get a damn best of 7 series started. I would have started on Wednesday the 4th. And would have went Wednesday, Friday the 6th. So play every other day, games 1 and 2, like I said. Take the weekend off, Saturday and Sunday. Game 3, Monday the 9th. Game 4 last Wednesday. The 2 days off, Thursday and Friday. Have game 5 on a Saturday. Game 6 on Monday. This Monday, so it'd be a game 6 tonight, not a game 5. Off day Tuesday, game 7 this Wednesday. You get the series done literally in 14 days. Take 7 games, you take 2 weeks. Not 17, not 18, not 19, not 20. You take 7 days, you take 14 days to get a best of 7 series in and out. You started a day earlier, and you make sure that the only time there's 2 days off in between games is in between games 2 and 3, and in between games 4 and 5. In between games 5 and 6, and 6 and 7, and 1 and 2, and 3 and 4, there's only 1 day off. And you say, well, Jai, they travel in between games 5 and 6 and 6 and 7. You know what? Tough. Go back to the 2-3-2 format, and you won't have a problem. But if you want to do the 2-2-1-1-1, fine, but but the deeper the series goes, you can't sit up here and ask your fan base to wait an extra 24 hours for a potential game 6 now that we have one, and for a game 7. Because deeper the series goes, the better it is, and the better the series is, the little amount of time your fan base has, or patience, I should say, for waiting for the next game to start, because they want it now. When you were watching, when you watched that classic that was Game 1 Dodgers and Yankees, you didn't want Game 2 to be played on a Sunday night or on a Monday. You wanted to get the game 2 as quick as possible so you continue to still have that energy, that buzz, and that momentum that great game 1 created into the following game 2. Which is why baseball which is why I hope and pray they never go to a best of 7 in the LDS. Still, baseball has the best schedule format for a given postseason. It's in and out. It takes 3.5 weeks at the most. At the most. Takes 3.5 weeks. You're playing every single day, no exceptions. Your only days off are on travel days in between cities, and no more than one, unless you get a rain out. I would have done that. Or if they were hell bent on starting Thursday the 5th, here's what you do. Game 1 as it was a few Thursdays ago. Game 2, not on a Sunday. You're not changing cities. And they just gave them a whole bunch of time off. What the hell do they need another 48 hours off for? You need momentum. I mean, when they played each other twice in the regular season, I mean, how many more preparation days you want to give them? Eventually, you just got to go out there, verbally talk out what adjustments you need to make, and just go out there, hit the pavement, and just play basketball. There's only so many adjustments. The game, it's a simple ass game. There's only so many adjustments, so many changes you can make. Eventually, you kind of have to roll with what brought you there. Go off the film that you've gotten with your given opponent and the over dozen playoff games they played thus far, on top of the games you already played in this series, on top of the games you played against them throughout the course of the regular season. You just go out there and just play. Just go out there and just play at the end of the day. You play Thursday the 5th, game 1. Instead of Sunday the 8th, Saturday the 7th, game 2. The 2 days off, you take Sunday and Monday off. You play last Tuesday the 10th, game 3. 1 day off last Wednesday. You play last Thursday the 12th, game 4. You take Friday and Saturday off. You play yesterday, game 5. Off day today instead of a game today. You play yesterday, you take today off. You play tomorrow, game 6, not a game 5. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 17th, a game 6. Off day Wednesday, Thursday, game 7. Boom. Boom. Like, it's not that freaking complicated, Adam Silver. It's not that complicated. Boy, they do it again, it kills the momentum. I understand you can't compare it to the National Football League because it's almighty and it's only one game. They don't play, best of 7 series, thank God. Look at baseball. Takes 3 weeks in and out, and they don't drag on their World Series. They don't. They make sure they play every single day. The only time you get a day off is either a rain out or for travel. No exceptions. And the NBA, a holiday the NBA with a summer holiday that is synonymous with playoff basketball, Father's Day, there needs to be a game on. I mean, no disrespect, but I can blow off Giants and Dodgers to watch the NBA Finals. They had no problem putting an NBA Finals game up against Red Sox Yankees last week. What's the difference between putting stupid? It's enough with the 2 days off. I can't take it anymore. I'm so sick because I don't want to. This series, it drags on too long. Hurry up, play the game, get the games in an appropriate time frame, and be gone with it. I mean, it's not. And another thing that drives me crazy is that the NBA does this and then turns around and acts like that their preliminary rounds leading up to the NBA Finals throughout their postseason tournament doesn't drag on and take forever either. Bad enough, your first 2 rounds are best of 7, and they take 2 weeks in and of themselves. The quicker your postseason journey, the better. It should not take essentially 2 months to crown a damn champion. Football, it takes a month's worth of Sundays in January. Baseball, it takes 3 weeks. not to play an entire series and a half to get through their entire postseason. It takes 3 weeks. Football, they give you 4 Sundays to crown a champion, 3 Sundays to get to the Super Bowl. It's just I can't. It's a pet peeve of mine. It really is because it's so unnecessary. So unnecessary. It's me insane. As you know, speaking of unnecessary and driving me insane. By the way, how in the hell is Scott Foster still allowed to referee NBA games in 2025? I mean, this is a guy that you know was in conversations. Let's just put it that way. Was in conversations with the crooked referee Donahue, who was in charge of rigging that series between the Lakers and Sacramento in 2002. That was banned from the league and did jail time. Was thick as thieves with Tim Donahue, the crooked official that was betting and rigging games because he had ties with the mob back in the day. And he's still, I mean, you gotta be, I mean, that game 4 on Friday night was so horrifically and egregiously officiated. It's left to disgust. Unless you were an Oklahoma City Thunder fan and or you bet the Thunder, you were left disgusted watching that game. Disgusted. I mean, from allowing the Thunder to literally just go up and down the floor and just allowing them to just do whatever the hell they wanted, to a basketball player in yellow was just it was embarrassing from the National Basketball Association that they allowed that nonsense to ensue in a game within their league championship series. It was disgusting watching that. I mean, and how many times are they going to allow SGA to push off, to literally stiff arm and give forearm shivers to Indiana Pacers players going up for mid-range J? How many times are they going to allow them to get away with this crap? Sending them to the free throw line time after time after time. I mean, they gift wrapped the Oklahoma City Thunder that game on Friday night. And listen, I get the gamesmanship piece of it, because if they're going to continue to blow the whistle in your benefit, I mean, it's only human nature is going to continue to do it until they stop. But I can't take SGA's foul baiting play. I can't take it. Driving to the rim, we saw it in game 1. It drove me crazy. Then when he drives to the rim, him just doing just the blatant forearm shivers and stiff arms, and he gets away with it. The flopping and the fixing of the face to get every single, him jumping and flailing with his arms in the air like a fish out of. I'm so sick of it. I got to be honest. Watching him play, he may be and is a very talented and an excellent basketball player, and in some people's eyes, not me, deserving of the league MVP this year. But I'd be a lying fool if I sat up there and told y'all with a straight face that I enjoy watching SGA play basketball on a nightly basis. I can't stomach watching him play. I can't. I cannot stomach watching him play. The foul baiting foolish. I don't think he's very exciting, very entertaining to watch in terms of an intangible standpoint. And watching him, and when 50% of his game, it feels like, is getting the refs to blow their whistle, to chop up and muck the game up so he can go to the free throw line and rack up points hand over fist at the charity stripe. That's not my definition of entertaining championship level NBA basketball. It's not a compelling brand of play that I enjoy watching. Now, granted, did Indiana also play their hand in their collapse? Because they got cute, sat on their lead, and straight up played iso ball with Tyrese Halliburton? Yes. But if you thought for 1 second that Scott Foster and officiating didn't have a hand to play in OKC coming back and stealing that game, you weren't watching the same game I was watching. That was a joke. I mean, that game was so damn choppy, was so chaotic, was just, I mean, from the ticky tack fouls to the going to the replay table and reviewing shit. Is this a flagrant or is it not a flagrant? It's just, I mean, oh my, out of, and it's been a very good NBA Finals, and collectively, it's been a very good and up until the series, well officiated NBA playoffs. That game four is the complete antithesis of all the goodwill that just has come from the entertainment value of these games and the goodwill that the officials built up in leading to this series. Because for the most part, they have done a solid job in officiating these games. Outside of a few qualms in the Piston Knicks series, which we talked about at the time, it's been a relatively well officiated NBA postseason up until this series and more recently up until that game four. And again, the fact that Scott Foster, who had his name linked to a referee that is banned for life from the league, who had to spend prison time for rigging games, and the fact that I don't care that he wasn't officially ruled guilty in the court of either the NBA's kangaroo court or in the court of the U.S. federal courts. I'm not interested. When there's smoke, there's fire, and when your name is linked to something like that, you don't mess around with it. Your name's as good as dead, you're poisoned, and you're dropping like a bad habit. And the fact that he's still allowed to officiate NBA games, let alone playoff games, let alone NBA Finals games in 2025 is a damn disgrace, and it's a disgusting disservice to me, you, and every single NBA fan and basketball fan underneath the sun on this planet. Because what I watched and wasted 2.5 hours of my time on Friday night was a damn disgrace. It was a disgrace. We know how good OKC is. Let me see them earn their way to tying this series up. Don't gift wrap it for them. Don't help them out. What do I say? Keep your beaks out of the game. And Scott Foster made game four of the NBA Finals out to be the Scott Foster show on Friday night. How he's still employed and allowed to officiate. How he's allowed to still officiate games. I don't give a shit if it's NBA, AAU, or damn 9-year-old games or ninth grade high school games. It will forever have my brain in a chokehold because what I watched Friday night was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Now, hopefully, we keep the officials out of the picture and out of the realm of conversation surrounding this series. The officials are not the story. The Pacers don't fall into the trap that the Knicks did, where they play iso ball. They don't follow their shots to the rim. They do a better job rebounding, just play a cleaner brand of basketball this time around, which I anticipate that they will. It's just the thing that's just so damning is that the Thunder getting back into this series when it appeared that they could be on the ropes and maybe down for the count, heading back to OKC down 3-1. Now, all of a sudden, the series is tied at 2 apiece and they have life. And if they win tonight, God help the Pacers in the Game 6 in their building, which will be played on the 4th of July. And Game 7 scheduled for July 20th. But the Pacers got to keep their poise, flush this bad loss, get back to what they've done all season long, rebounding the basketball, spreading the wealth offensively, and I think they'll be all right in the Game 5 later on tonight. Barring the officials stay out of the way, they do a better job rebounding, more efficient offensively, scoring, and I think they'll be okay. I think they just and they also cannot let the Thunder take them out of the game early, like we saw them do to Minnesota in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals, and like we saw, obviously, in Game 2, two Sundays ago, 8 days ago. All goes well. They have the heads on straight. This still, I think, will be anybody's series in these final 2 games, maybe 3, depending on which direction games 5 and 6 go coming up. later tonight. And lastly, before we say goodbye, as my chair sounds like a rocking chair from circa 1885. Last thing before we get on out of here. The Bengals quickly, just to address it. Shemar Stewart, the standoff that they have with this guy is asinine. Both teams really don't have a leg to stand on to really drag out this standoff. And I understand and I've read, that there is a possibility and a loophole that if it goes to a certain point where he remains unsigned, he can re enter for the NFL draft in 2026. The problem is that, first off, dating back to when the Bengals first signed him on that late Thursday night in late April, a lot of people thought that the Bengals reached for this guy. They didn't see him being, because he had a little body to work with in terms of his stats at Texas A&M, that the Bengals reached to even draft him in the second round. So you have a borderline first round draft pick that essentially is going to forfeit a season of his career to go back and re-enter the draft against players that are going to have a higher value up on everybody's draft board and on the quote unquote open market, so to speak. It's just the idea. Now, he can do what he wants and he would be justified in doing so, because I am on his side on this, but he also low-key would be foolish to, especially if it's not about money and it's about language and clauses in the contract. I get where he's coming from, and I'm on his side, because I've had enough with the Bengals and their tomfoolery and trying to be slick and get over on players and being more interested in winning negotiations than putting the best team on the field that can lead them winning football games, and hopefully with this quarterback and this core, Super Bowl championships. So I've ran out of patience with the Bengals front office and ownership at this point. But let's not act like that Shemar Stewart, he has all the leverage in theory, but in terms of himself personally and his career, he really doesn't, because he's going to take a huge risk if he does choose to go back and re-enter the 2026 NFL draft, where he's going to, coming off of a year where he's forfeit a season of work, and obviously all that goes into that, coming off of cats that are coming off of. I mean, we don't know, because we're in June. The college football, we haven't even begun training camp yet for the college year. So he's going up against a lot of unknowns and going up against a lot of future NFL prospective talent that are most likely going to be better, faster, have accolades up the yin yang and stats and this, that, and the third, and more recent tape, and it's just everything else, and and just younger talent. And he's going to go up and bet against himself going up against that. I mean, it's just, when you consider this past April, in some people's eyes, he was fortunate to be drafted in the first round to begin with. And he's going to sit there and take a risk and count on him being a first round draft choice again, and not either an undrafted free agent or going in the fourth, fifth, or sixth round that Saturday when nobody's watching and people have checked out and nobody cares anymore. And the rookie contract money, if you're a fourth, fifth, sixth round draft pick, is totally different than you're a first rounder. So if you're Shemar Stewart, I'm saying, if I'm his agent, if I'm his family member, I'm like, yeah, I'm with you proving your point. But at what point do we kind of have to, if no one's willing to blink from the staring contest, I mean, they don't, they can't afford not to have you, because they need all the help they can get on their defense, but they can get another body in there that can take your spot, blow them away out of the clear blue sky once camp opens up in July, and you'll be a distant memory. And then I got to worry about paying you and this, that, and the third. Some undrafted guy off the street, or some, guy that gets cut in between now or sometime during camp, and they scoop up off the scrap heap, and he becomes a diamond in the rough that nobody saw coming. I'm with you and I'm for you taking a stand or whatever, stand on business. But let's not sit up and act like that you're going to be, that you're going to get drafted in the same spot come April of 2026. I mean, that is for a young, unproven guy that's got a very finite, tape / stats to lean on from his collegiate days. I mean, that is taking one hell of a risk and one hell of a gamble from Shemar Stewart's standpoint. But if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, don't try to get over. You didn't pull this crap with Amarius Mims last year. I know what about 20 something other teams that have now done this thing. I think with the behavioral clause in the contract. Just why do you go out of your way to make life more difficult on yourselves? Just stop. Stop being difficult. Make life easier on yourself. Eliminate these contractual obligated or related, I should say, standoffs and holdouts and distractions. Just get back to just being low key, low profile, under the radar. Put the best team on the field by any means necessary. Just get this crap moving on to something else. God, being a fan of this team sometimes is so freaking exhausting. How is this that's what I want to know. If I could interview the Blackburn family, Mike Brown, if I could interview this would be a number one question. How is this current standoff with Shemar Stewart productive to the Bengals' cause and them winning the 2025 NFL championship? That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know. How is this current standoff over language in a rookie contract, how is this productive to the Cincinnati Bengals winning football games and hopefully winning a championship in 2025? And I don't think if this was Zoom or if they were sitting right next to me, I don't think they could give me a straight, honest answer because there is none. I was happy to read Sunday afternoon that they resumed the contract talks with Trey Hendrickson. Good. Get him signed and get him signed now, ASAP. You got a good month and change before everybody reconvenes for training camp in July. I don't want to be reading or hearing or watching any clips or reading any tweets of this bullshit carrying into camp. We dealt with it with Chase and T last year. I'll be damned if I'm going to sit through it again with Trey. Go into a training camp where there's nobody coming off of a major surgery because of a catastrophic injury and no contract talks. No distractions. Everyone come back to Cincinnati in July, focused, locked in, ready to put the work in, ready to put their nose to the grindstone, hit the ground running so they can win themselves a Super Bowl championship. I'm tired of this. I want my Super Bowl, and I want it now. Contract talks have resumed. Good. Keep talking until a damn deal is done. Sick of this. Sick of this foolishness. That's all I got to say. Episode of the I'm Telling You podcast. This one you just watch is in the books. Like the show. Please do not hesitate to subscribe. Follow your boy on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, the works at the J Shield. Until Friday. Peace. Be safe. Be well. Be blessed.